Hey everyone, it is Wednesday again, which means we are bringing you some Wednesday wisdom on Trap Chat Live. I am so excited today to have my first Pride Month special show. I am joined by Reese Byrne, they, them, hailing from the great small state of Rhode Island. I have worked with Reese on a few projects in the past, but they are a program manager, currently a program manager of equity and belonging at Zillow. Has done some event coordinating, marketing, communications, tech, and is the host or co-host of Bye Bye Binary. So we might get to that. I probably missed some things that you might want to highlight, but Reese, go ahead and introduce yourself.
You didn't miss that much, but hi everyone. My name is Reese Byrne. I use they them pronouns. I think the only thing that you missed is that we have 5 dogs and 1 cat is the only caveat that I always throw in as fun fact.
Okay.
Outside of that, career-wise, no, you basically hit every little career path that I've hit. And yes, here's my cat as he goes away.
Yes, no, I did miss something very important. You're an advocate for Black and LGBTQ visibility. That is very important. Yes. Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
And listen, that cat is welcome. Hello. That cat is welcome here. I've seen him many, many times. The dogs, for whatever reason, do not ever come on camera, but the cat loves to be on camera. And so shout out to the cat. My second, just put his butt in your face.
Every time.
All right. So like I mentioned, and as my banner says, it is Pride Month. I am not going to call myself an ally because that's not for me to do. That's for someone else to do. But I just wanted to approach the show in the most, like I said, respectful and centering way that I could, which is one of the reasons I reached out to you. I do have some other friends in the community, but they've either already been on the show or, I just wanted to have some time to be on this other side talking to you because normally you're talking to me.
Exactly.
So what does Pride Month mean to you and how do you celebrate?
I think Pride Month means 2 things for me. One, I say this every time, but I can be extremely gay this month. I'm usually pretty gay every month, but this month I always go out and about. One, two, but also this month means that it's a reflection on what has happened in the past and currently happening everywhere when it comes to the LGBTQIA plus community. And I think a lot of people forget that Pride was a riot. They always think it's just been rainbows and all this stuff saying gay and everything,
right.
Which it is, but also at the same time too, when Pride first started, it was a riot, So I think for me, when it comes to celebrating Pride, it's, going to events like Pride is actually this weekend here in Providence. So we'll be going to the parade and the festival that they have and everything like that. But outside of that too, is, taking it day by day and reminding folks when I'm in my company talking about, what has happened in the past and what's going on now. So those are definitely what Pride means to me, as well as what I do to celebrate it every year.
Awesome. So you mentioned what things that are going on right now. My God.
We only have an hour for this. I don't know if we're going to finish it
all. We don't. In general, American people have not had a lot of breaks over the past few months. But specifically, this week, there have been a number of things. I sent you a few articles that I wanted to discuss. So we can start there with recent news. So first and foremost, an article came out yesterday. So a lot of people may not have hit your radar yet, but Starbucks, who is a self-proclaimed organizational ally, the head of diversity, equity, inclusion everywhere. They want to be the beacon of everything, all things at the same time. There was a report from some Starbucks union members saying that they were told to remove all Pride merchandise from the stores. And a Starbucks corporate, my glasses are all fogged. Starbucks corporate spokesperson said, no, that's not true. So yeah, I'm inclined to believe the people who are actually on the ground. I'm not saying that corporate told them to remove it. Perhaps someone from their store level or their regional level may have told certain stores to remove certain things. I don't know, but yeah. Anyway, what are some, besides that, like pulling down your banners? People will put up something like this for the month, change their company logo to that. They may post, do a few social posts. They may bring in a speaker. But what would you say are the red flags that show that a company or an organization is just being performative? And then second, what are some of the green flags that show that they're a true ally?
So, oh God, this topic is just it's a lot, because when it comes to Pride Month, everybody's always changing their logos, like you mentioned. Like everybody Hopper on my phone is now rainbow. And I'm like, oh, that's great. I love seeing it. Red flags that I see with it. After when July 1st hits, that stuff's gone. It's literally probably June 31st, if there's 31 days in June, if I remember correctly. Literally at like 11:59, they've already changed it over to what the normal logo is. So that's red flag 1.
Okay.
Red flag 2 is I'm always down to see brands that are doing partnerships with like the Trevor Project. Like I'm always wanting to support other organizations that are actually giving money back to the LGBTQIA plus community.
Okay.
But at the same time too, they only do it for 1 month. Why is it only that 1 month and not like potentially the whole year? This is a plug. Like I shop at Abercrombie for all of my clothes, right? And so
interesting.
I know it's very interesting. You would never think that, like
you're like over
my
20.
Age,
you're over 20.
Yes, I'm close to 30, and yet I still shop there. But because number 1, they've been very size inclusive. Number 2, anytime that you buy clothes from them, for the past 2 years, they've always said, "Do you want to round up to the Trevor Project?" Which is an organization to my heart that I'm always like, they have me no matter what, because of the stuff that I went through growing up. Like I wish the Trevor Project was there. So in the aspect of outside of Abercrombie, a lot of companies just do it for 1 month. They're just going to donate this, they're going to do this, and that's it. Outside of that, some green flags that you can see is that, like, number 1, it could be Facebook, for example. Yes, they changed their logo, which can be good or bad, but also internally, are there reports coming out saying like, oh, we've actually hired, 20% more LGBTQIA plus folks, or we're doing more events that are more inclusive for everyone outside of the LGBTQIA plus. So I think when it comes to, it's really bad because usually June is like rainbow washing month, or like rainbow capitalism.
It's so bad. I like that.
It's
rainbow
bad.
Capitalism. Yeah.
I stole it from Maddie, so you can thank her for that. I think when it comes to like some green flags that I do see from it is that even if companies change their logo to rainbow for the month of June and then back, I want to see reports afterwards of what they're doing for their internal employees, for people that might shop at their stores and everything like that. Yeah. So there's always like, it's kind of like I'm contradicting myself, where it's like, oh, it's good, but it's also bad at the same time too. But like, I look at it as there are certain companies that, like, you can see in the news that they haven't done anything for LGBTQIA plus. Like they're only doing it to make headlines, and then they're going back and reverting to it. So like Starbucks, for example, since even like George Floyd and all of the protests are happening, they were always like, we are standing behind our workers and everything like that. So I believe when it came to the union of them saying that, I believe them 100%, because like you said, they are the ones on the ground, while corporates just looking over like, oh yeah, no, we didn't say that. But like, did you say it or did you not? Like, that's why I also agree with you saying that the folks that are part of the union, the ones that are in the stores, stocking the shelves, making the coffee, I can see, number 1, that happening. Number 2, how frustrating it could be, because y'all are this big company saying that you're super inclusive, you want to support everyone, but you're actually not doing that work at all. So which one is it?
I mean, we've seen Starbucks make some missteps. Those of you who know, I used to exclusively drink Starbucks coffee just to, it'd be kind of a joke that they would spell my name wrong. But when that incident happened in Philadelphia, even before the pandemic, even before people paid attention for 1 year to Black issues and Black justice, they had a major misstep, and they did some town halls, and they were helping people, let's talk about race. I think it was called Race Matters. Was that what it's? was it called
I'm pretty sure.
Race Forward or something. It was something like that. Race
Yes.
Matters is Cornell West book. My bad. We're not gonna talk about him today. Let me pull it back. But yeah, like when companies do that, it's usually reactive. My banner always goes up when things are reactive, like stand on your square, like Budweiser is
Bud
doing.
Light.
Like
Yep.
stand on your square. But like there's some conflicting information about what's going on at Target. Did they take merchandise away or did they not? And for them, they said it was a safety issue. I 100% get that. Like if your employees are being abused and attacked, you really do have to support your employees as well. So it becomes very difficult. And I don't know that it's even so much the internal employees that are raising the problems. I think a lot of it, especially when you're talking about companies that that are retail, merchandise, things like that. Like sometimes it's the public, the people who are,
buying the product, shopping there, whatever it is.
The people who affect your bottom line, directly. I think that people still seem to cater more to the consumer than they do the employees. But that's a good place to go. And this was supposed to be this is going to take a while. How can organizations, like when something like this happens, how can organizations foster a safer, because safety is number one for me. So a safer and more inclusive work environment for their LGBTQ plus employees.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'll take it on the aspect of when it comes to like Target and everything like that. I've seen videos on my TikTok. Yes, I'm on TikTok, of course, of people harassing workers there that are like standing by the Pride stuff or like we're restocking the shelves when it comes to Pride. Wow. I think one of the biggest things that is a harsh reality is that yes, taking things down or putting them to the side may help, but at the same time, it's not. It's not still showing up as the company that you want to show up with, the name that you want to show up, that like every single year, there's always a video talking about Target's Pride stuff. They're always like rating it and everything like that. And so I think when it comes to—
They do the same thing during Black History Month.
Exactly. Anything like that. And so I think one of the biggest things is when it comes to having the safety of it is having conversations technically about it, of like, this is probably what's going to happen. Probably going to have somebody be harassing you around you, maybe showing them where the Pride stuff is or anything like that. I think it needs to be not just like, oh, hey, we'll deal with it when it happens. Like it needs to actually be a conversation before the month starts saying, hey, this is what we've done. This is what we've done in the past. Now let's try to, think of some resources or different ways that we can make sure that you feel safe as an employee that's working the store that day. And I think a lot of people just push things to the side and they're like, oh yeah, well, so no, let me pause and take a step back. So the Target that we have here, Maddie and I went to it, and usually the Pride stuff's right in the front. We like went around the whole store and found it in the corner of like in the front row of how usually a Target is. And so it was pushed to the side, which is okay, cool. But like the state that we're in, we're very confused of why it's like that. But when it comes to like me, a consumer going to walk into Target because I'm looking for something Pride, like it takes, for me, when I walk in, I'm like, dang, they're not showing up the way that they used to, which one can be for safety, but two, also like y'all always talk a big game, but you're not doing it. So what are some steps you're going to do that? And I know the safety of employees is number one. And I think conversations just need to start like at the get-go when it comes to Black History Month as well, too, because people, we know how folks are saying in Black History Month, there shouldn't be a month of it, shouldn't be a day of it, whatever it is. But having conversations up front with your employees and taking in some of the feedback that they might give you is a great way to start and foster a relationship of knowing that like, hey, we have your back and we're here to support you any way that we can in order for in that environment when it comes to work.
I love that. And I think about that a lot. We were talking a little bit behind stage about things, and like I know that I have been responsible for recruiting two folks who were both transgender. And it never was like the first person, like it never was an issue, The first one was like, this is years ago, like years ago at a defense contractor. The first one, like we liked her so much. Like she was supposed to take a job at a certain agency, but when she filled out her background investigation paperwork, she had some issues in her former identity.
Got it.
So we couldn't hire her for that program.
Yeah.
But we ended up finding something else
for her to go into.
For her to do. And when I tell you that person was one of, and I don't even know if they're still there, but was like, got promoted so many times and did so many great things. And it was never an issue. The issue was, oh my God, how do we fix this situation for this potential employee? Do we, or, you know, and do we want to be this employer? And again, no one cared. The only issue I ever saw was like one guy was on a contract intelligence agency. He like everybody knew him. Everybody knew that he was gay. Again, no one made a big deal out of it, but he for whatever reason got into this like I don't know. And if again, he can express his identity any way he wants to, but he was doing things where people were like, "Yo, you gotta chill." You know?
Oh, he was being a little too much.
Like relax, enough. And it became a thing. And then again, I don't even think we were equipped at that point to figure out how to deal with that type of employee relations issue. You know, he had been spoken to, and then fast forward, I was taken off guard. And this is in no way like me saying that I'm like prejudiced or anything like that, or phobic in any way. But like, I'm taken off guard because I'm having this conversation with this person and again, love them.
Yep.
And the person that they were going to interview with, I know is a little bit extra. And I'm whatever talking about, I'm like, I had this great candidate. I was like, oh, and they used to work here. And they're like, what's the name? And I said the name and they're like, oh, and they don't know. And I'm like, yeah, they used to do this and this and this and this. And they're like, oh, and then they're like, oh, you're talking about, and I'm just gonna make up a name, but like, you're talking about Bob? And I was like, no, I'm talking about Ann. You know, that's not their name either. And they're like, no, like their name used to be Bob, and they transitioned while they were here, and blah blah blah. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna have it. Like, and I was like so afraid that like my, you know, the hiring manager was gonna like be offensive to them.
Yep.
So I was so scared, but again, they ended up getting hired too. So
good
stories. Good stories. Oh, Torin has a comment that, let's see, that hostility risk mitigation prior to is a jewel drop. Absolutely. Let's dropped. Jewel dropped. But again, I brought myself into it because, like I said, there are some things like I'm all the way up to the LGBT.
There's a couple more on it, but it's fine. We're working on it.
I'm up there. Like, I'm up there. I got it. I got you. But like pronouns.
Yep.
You know, pronouns became a big thing. And I was one of those people that was quick to be like, I'm going to put my pronouns on my signature. I'm going to do this. And I'm like, and after a while I thought about it, I was like, how would I feel if someone went around and like, you know, I'm not Pan-African, but like someone put up a Pan-African flag on their thing, or it's like, you know, put a thing like, I love Black people or something like, you know, like something like that. Like they put like 25%. My ancestor might be related to you. Like, you know, sorry. Like I thought about how I feel. I was like, and I said to myself, am I taking up space? Because I don't know many people that are going to look at me and say, not say she. You know what I'm saying? I don't know many people that are not going to do that. I don't know anyone that has, like, no one's ever misgendered me. So how do you feel about, you know, this, you know, this overwhelming amount of folks using pronouns? Like, again, is it just not a big deal? Am I overthinking it?
Yeah, I think you're overthinking it. Like, here's my thing. So like, if you were to see me, like, you'd be like, oh, okay, well, actually, let me take a step back. I always get misgendered. It can happen in every single day of work. or it can
Yeah.
happen outside of work because not a lot of people know me outside of work.
Right.
And so my biggest thing is like when it comes to pronouns, like I'm all for it for you to have it in your name and bio. Like it makes me comfortable when I go into a meeting and like I always have my pronouns on my Zoom, no matter what. And then
Right.
somebody else is in the room and they have their pronouns too. And I'm like, okay, cool. Now I know how to relate to them if like for you, for example, oh, she was doing this because I
Right.
know your pronouns are she, her, right?
Hmm.
It's sometimes it can be hard when I'm in meetings altogether. And if somebody doesn't have their pronouns, I automatically would say, like, oh, yeah, Jeff, they were saying this. Even if
Hmm.
Jeff could be a guy and use he, him pronouns, I still always use they, them because it's easier for me to
Gotcha.
go into a place and know that number one, I'm not going to offend anybody unless they act a certain way and they're like, I'm not a they. And I'm like, okay, even if it's fine, it's in the dictionary. I go into a place of just like talking that way, like a gender neutral way, because I don't know
Oh,
how somebody might identify. So I think when it comes to pronouns, like I'm all for it. Like my pronouns are everywhere. Like I encourage folks to have their pronouns out as well too, because
okay.
number one, it's showing like how you identify, kind of how you identify one, but also two, it's like a safe space of like, if we were to have a conversation offline, like Torin, who made a comment before, I don't know how Torin identifies, but I can say, oh, Torin, they were at the conversation. They were great. They had asked a lot of questions. It's still a way for me to be aware and also to like just knowing that like if I'm going to talk about you to someone else or in the same setting that we're in, that I can use your pronouns and you're not going to get offended with it. So don't
Yeah.
overthink it too much. Like it is.
No, I do. Because again, like you don't want to be offensive, and you don't want
Right.
either way, and you don't like I said, like I don't want to center myself in that
Right.
conversation because like I don't want you to focus on the fact that I have my my pronouns, and then you miss that the next person who maybe isn't as
Yeah.
vocal, maybe doesn't speak up as
Yep.
much, has theirs, and you look at them and assume that they want to be identified one way and they're another. So that's why I
Yeah.
don't put mine up anymore for anyone that was no one cares. Like you just
No.
said, no one cares.
Well, and I think the hard thing for me is like you can hear my voice and like see me. Like I have super short hair. I dress super masculine, but like there's times where people are like, "Oh, Reese, she was saying this," and people mess it up all the time. Like I even mess up my own pronouns, which is like it happens, and people would be very shocked, but it happens. But I think the hardest thing too is that like even when my pronouns are there with my name, even if I've known you for like 5 or 6 years and you mess up my pronouns, it still hurts a little bit. But if you were to like switch it up and be like, oh, Reese, I apologize and misspoke. They said that they were going to do this.
Mm-hmm.
It takes away the whole situation altogether. So when it comes to pronouns, like I am a bit advocate for it, just so that in the space of meetings or anything like that, people know how to address you when you're in a conversation.
Right. I love that. So let's stay there for just a second because Kat put up a question yesterday that was very timely. And I asked them if I could use it, and they said yes. So I remixed it a little bit. So since we were having this conversation, maybe add a little bit more, but what advice do you have for an employee? So someone who's working and, they have their preferred pronouns, but their coworker or even a family member, which was part of Kat's question, is either ignoring them or continues to misspeak them without any apology or, just not even wanting to acknowledge that.
Oof, this is hard. So we're gonna get real. So whenever anybody messes up my pronouns in a workplace or even like out in the public, I don't say anything. My partners though,
Oh,
yeah, I
yeah.
never say anything. My partners though, they will jump at you and be like, nope, fix it. So for me, like a very like wholesome moment actually happened a couple weeks ago with my manager. We were on a call, we were getting a demo for a project, and the person was like, oh, Reese, she can do this, showing us the product. And my manager came up to me and she was like, by the way, Reese uses they, them pronouns. And the person was like, okay, cool, but then still kept messing it up and everything like that. And like in that moment, I like messaged my manager. I was like, you kind of made me tear up because I've had people stand up for me. Like my partner's different story, but like in a workplace setting, it's only happened a couple of times. So
Right.
for me, here's the weird thing. So if somebody's in a work setting with me and somebody uses they them pronouns, and so if somebody were to have a conversation and mess up their pronouns, I would stick up and say, oh, you meant they. I would like be up there and be like, you meant to say like, Josh, they were doing this. But when it comes to me, I get scared like a little girl, and I don't know why I don't say anything.
Oh.
It's always been something for me that like I'm a very soft-spoken person. But if you come for somebody that I know, then it's a different story. So when it comes to workplace setting, you know, I would, if somebody were to mess it up and it would keep consistently happening, I would message and be like, hey, just a reminder, these are my pronouns. Like I know it might be,
Mhm.
you know, there's a lot of learning curve when you meet somebody for the first time in a virtual aspect as well,
Yeah.
because that's what the workplace is like. But at the same time too, like I would just be like, hey, like my pronouns are they them. Like I know this might be kind of different for you or anything like that, but like hopefully, you know, you can kind of understand like this is how I identify. That's in the workplace.
Gotcha.
In a non-workplace setting, what we do is, so Maddie's mom, the sweetest woman in the world, she will mess up my pronouns sometimes. So I and Kat and I've talked about this before. We have like a little pronoun jar bin. So anytime she messes up my pronouns, she puts $1 in the bin. And as of right now, I should own 2 Broncos and a boat. Is how it
So, did you
looks
donate
like.
everything to the Trevor Project?
Look, I would. There's feasible money in my hand putting into that.
Wow.
But at the same time, too, like Maddie's mom is a great advocate for me and myself. Like
Right.
she just messes up. It is
Yeah.
okay to mess up someone's pronouns as long as you say, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to say that. This is what I meant to say." So whenever Maddie's mom does it, I always laugh because she always says she'll say the F word. She's like, and I'm like, Donna, it's okay. So I know that she is still like she doesn't mess them up all the time, but there's times
Mhm.
that it'll slip up, just like it will happen for me and my partners as well too. So in moments like that, like I want you to say like, "Hey, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to mess those up. Let me work on it and continue working better." That's like some of the best advice I could ever give out to anybody when it comes to pronouns.
Thank you. Appreciate that. All right. Let's move to the next question. This one's about career, and we are going to have to wrap up.
Yep.
We'll start wrapping up to the rapid fire questions after that. But
Perfect.
so we talk a lot about bringing our authentic self to the workplace, and given that you have, like, not only in your in your bio you say that you are an advocate, you're an advocate for Black and LGBTQ visibility. It seems that you have chosen careers that give you the opportunity to highlight and amplify Black and
Yep.
LGBTQ identities. So, in what ways, if any, did the ability to be your authentic self factor into your career path and to the companies you choose to lend your gifts and talents?
Ooh, so I would say specifically, this is going to be weird, but specifically during George, actually, let me back up. When I went to college at an HBCU, prior to that, I knew I was Black, but I didn't know history of it because I grew up in Florida. The school systems in Florida, as you know, are not the best. And so for me, I was never really like, I was taught what Black History Month is, but not to an extent of what Black history is until I went to an HBCU and I actually learned that.
Okay.
So when it comes to, and then I also came out in 2012 or 11. So at the same time too, me coming out and like realizing who I was as a person, like changed my perspective, right?
Okay.
So whenever I do a job interview or show up in a workplace, like I'm going to show up as who I am. I usually wear a t-shirt to work. We're remote. So like I wear sweatpants sometimes. And I always have this photo next to me, which is a picture of Maddie and I from our first like date that we've ever had.
We actually can't see that, but
I had long hair back then.
What? I gotta see that. I gotta see a picture of that. Send the copy. I need it for blackmail later.
I got you. So for me, like anytime that, and this is kind of advice I give to anybody that's kind of job searching or anything like that, whenever I'm in an interview or anything like that and people ask me questions, I'm always showing up as like, oh, hey, like my name is Reese. I use they, them pronouns. I'm queer, non-binary, and Black.
Yes.
That's how I show up. And I'm not afraid to say that. Like you're going to get me who I am every single day. There's days where I have Real Housewives playing on the speaker on my TV that you'll probably hear in the background of calls. I usually mute it, but like at the same time too, I'm showing up truly as I am. And I think it's so hard to in certain aspects and certain job areas of companies to actually do that, because you always feel that you're going to get judged.
Mm.
I'm always right at the bat when I'm interviewing for companies. I'm like, oh, so like, what does your equity and belonging look like? Or what does your diversity, equity, and inclusion here at this company look like? You know, do
Yeah.
you have statistics around like how many people of color you've hired? How many people of the LGBTQIA plus that you've hired? Like, I'm always asking those tougher questions because I want to know that I'm going into a workplace that, number one, I can feel safe as showing up as who I am. Number two, they're going to support the work that I do. And three, that like they're gonna just putting those together, like I can be my true self. And so I think it's one of those things, like I really, like I came out as non-binary. What year are we in? Are we 2023? I came out as non-binary in 2020. So it's only been 3 years that I've like changed my pronouns and everything like that. And I now genuinely feel like I am the true Reese every single day. Nothing changes. When I get the haircut, it just looks that much better. Like there's certain things for me that I want to make sure, like, say if I were to ever leave Zillow and going on to another company, that I'm still asking those hard questions, because I'm not going to change who I am and put on my little phone voice from 9 to 5.
First of all, don't you talk about my phone voice. I know what you're doing.
But we love your phone voice and it's fine. But like, for me, it's like, I never want to show up as who I'm not, because that's showing up as like me being not the real me, when like I am the real me every single day. What's the difference between work and my personal life, you know? So that's like some general advice and like realization that I've had in my life of who I am and everything.
I love that. Do you think it's easier in certain professions, you know, especially when we're talking about representation? A second one of the articles I sent you was about the Tony Awards and how two non-binary actors won Tony Awards this year.
Yep.
And, you know, it's like, you know, one was the first and the second one was the second first. You know, so, you know, I was thinking about that, and I was like, you know, I think it might be, you know, it's like, is it easier in creative fields where you know, where gender is a little bit more fluid, especially because like, let's be honest, like you're pretending. I'm not saying that you're pretending, but I'm saying like people are assuming pretending a different identity when they are on stage acting. So, you know, is a little bit more. And then I was like, you know, how much my question was like, how much will that representation, you know, like spread across industries? Like, will that encourage somebody else who maybe was in your situation to say, hey, that doesn't have access to you, you know, to say, hey, you know what, it's time that I, you know, step into who I am.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
So I think my biggest is I'm like a reality TV person. Like, give me all the drama and everything like that. So
Sarah,
look, it's bad. So for example, Selling Sunset, which is a real estate show on Netflix.
I know. Yeah.
Okay. So when Chriselle came out last year saying that she was dating G Flip, instantly everybody was like, so you're dating a man, so you're dating a woman, so you're dating, who are you dating? Are they an alien? Are they this? It literally changed the narrative of the show and lost thousands of viewers, because God forbid Chriselle could date a non-binary person. 1, 2, even if G Flip identified as a woman, God forbid that could happen.
Okay.
Fast forward to this year, Chriselle and G Flip are married, and they're still they're still dating, but they're married. G Flip has been on the show and everything like that. And everyone's perspective has changed a little bit of saying like, oh, like, look at, because Chriselle was like, I'm going to show up as who I am. I'm going to show you my partner for as much as I can on the show, and I'm going to call it a day. Like, Chriselle, from the transformation that she kind of went through and realizing how people were treating her and G Flip's relationship, from like trashing it to now people are supporting, has changed so much. And I think especially too, outside of like the media and television realm of fields, sports is an even bigger one. And I love sports myself, but like, I could not imagine, like, it wouldn't even be known if I was somebody that, the New York Mets are my favorite team, but like, say if I was a I know they suck, it's fine.
I was saying, listen, to quote Joey Tribbiani.
So like, say if I were on the Mets batting staff or anything like that, like, it would if I was the first Black non-binary person, it would be out in the world, but everybody would then still hate the Mets more than they do now. It would be so hard for me to be the true self of who I am in a bigger world like that, because it's not really respected. Like women's softball, WNBA, like it's not even big in comparison to how the men play and everything like that. So I think it's hard in every single field that you go into, because you're always hearing stories of like, oh, well, there was a lesbian on the team and everybody thought she was going to date everybody. She was actually married with 2 kids. Like, it's so hard to show up truly as yourself in different aspects of work and careers, that it's always just like, we need to do better. We need to do better, because like, I'm still a person outside of this. Even if I'm a batting coach for the Mets, like I'm going to still teach them how to hit a home run or to bunt a ball. Like I'm still going to do the job that I know how to do. I just might live a little bit differently than you, and like, just deal with it. That's how I see it as. It's like, it's always any career that you kind of go into, it's super, super hard to actually show up as your true self, unless you are in a place that you know that you can actually show up as your true self.
I love that. Yeah, I still don't. You get a piece of me. That's it. Because most people suck, including like the Mets.
Okay, it's fine. I'll take it. It's fine.
I'm just quoting Joey Tribbiani, who is not a real person, by the way, folks. If you've never seen Friends, but he said Mets suck.
Mets suck. Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah. The Yankees fan. Anywho, go Nats. It's time for our rapid fire questions, because we are at the little bit past the halfway point. But what is the best career advice you never took, or that you took later in your career?
Ooh, best career advice actually is going to show up as who you want to be every single day of the week. It doesn't matter, and don't turn on your phone voice. I'm not like bashing you for your phone voice, but don't show up as your true self and never anybody else. And I was actually told that at my first job out of college is when I was told that advice, and I should have listened to it sooner than later.
Okay. I'm going to have to paraphrase because you got me off. All right. Show up as your authentic self no matter what.
Yep.
All right. Sorry, I type slow.
It's fine. It's fine.
I type slowly. Sorry, people. And I don't like to misspell things.
Yeah. I also talk very fast too, so it's a little bit hard.
That's part of my phone voice, because I talk fast, and I'm from Jersey, and people, when I get comfortable, I get very Jersey.
Yep.
And people can't understand me. So I made it deliberate to like, well.
Well, by the way.
And we don't want me. I've told this story before, but I was in an interview and the person disarmed me so much that I was telling, like, they asked me an open-ended question, a behavioral question. And instead of actually finishing, like I said, I went full on Jersey and I was like, blase. And
It's fine. It's fine.
I got hired, but we did laugh about it later. Like, did you say blase? I was like,
yep.
Yeah, I kind of did. All right, next question. What advice would you give your early career self? So Reese, just out of college.
Don't settle for anything. Go after what you really want.
Yes. Don't settle for anything. Go after what you really want. I wish I had done that. I would not be using my phone voice anymore at a minimum.
See?
What's the best, worst, or strangest way you've seen a company celebrate Pride Month?
Oh, okay. This is more personal, but a company that I was at asked me to write an article about what it's like to be queer in the workplace. And I said, no. They also wanted to like feature me on their website. And I said,
they're like,
no.
What? So they said, Reese, what's it like to be alive?
Basically.
What's it like to exist?
Look, that, and they were like, can we like use you for non-binary people's day? And I was like, no, I'm not your token non-binary
Time out.
person.
They said, can we use you?
Yep.
Oh.
Oh, it's fine. I laughed about it. I literally, as soon as I got the message, I was like, am I? Did I just read that correctly? I did.
I saw something today that from a DEI expert that I actually just started following. And it was like 4 things. I'm going to pull it out really quickly. It was like 4 things to think about when you're, what do you call it? Thinking about, doing DEI work. Hold on. Ooh. For those who don't know, I cannot see my phone with my glasses on. I really need progressives, but I won't get them. So I have different glasses for different things. All right, where is it? So it's differentiate, elevate, educate, and celebrate, like in that order. Like this is the way that you do it.
Yep.
Differentiate, elevate, educate, and celebrate. All right, next question. If you wrote a book about your career, well, your career so far, what would the title be?
Oh God. Actually, this is a quote that I say every single day, but like more to come is what I would call it as, because there's so much more to come every single day with my career.
All right, get that written down. Manifest that. It's a good day to do that. Put it out there. Okay, what TV, book, or movie character gives you a glimpse of yourself?
Oh God. I'm trying to think of a TV character that I'm just like, oh yeah, that's me. This is gonna sound bad, but I was just talking about them, but like G-Flip and how they live and everything like that. I would say like I'm kind of like them on the way of like, I just show up as who I am and I don't care what people have to say about me, nor am I gonna change for anybody else.
Okay. It is also Black Music Month.
Yes.
And this is Trap Chat Live. So I do always ask people about music because I love music. But what is your go-to songs, or genre of music when you want to hype yourself up?
Oh, hip hop. Like I use Apple Music, which like I know is not good. But there is a playlist that I use, which is like hip hop rush, I think is what it's called, when it's like heavy lifting and everything like that, outside of working out, but for work, in order to get me like hype in case I'm doing a talk or anything. But I also love Ty Dolla $ign and his new song called Motion. It's really good.
Okay. You're gonna probably think this is funny, but I just watched Creed 3 for the first time on Saturday. I mean,
I still haven't seen it yet, so
it's okay. It's on, I think it's on Amazon Prime. Maybe it's on Netflix. Yeah. So you don't have to pay for it anymore. So I watched it. But there is a song from the soundtrack called Anthem, and I heard it and I immediately downloaded it. So now that's my new, my new song.
I'm trying to think of who's it with, but I've heard the song before too, and it's it's so good.
Yeah, I like that song. It was the one that he came into that what's his name? Michael B. Jordan came into that Creed came into. Yeah. All right. So last thing, what's next for you? Where are we going to check you out? Like, what do you have coming up? What's going on in Zillow? What's going on we didn't talk about Bye Bye Binary. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Let's do that real quick. Yeah.
Okay. So Bye Bye. We haven't like done a video, a podcast in a minute. Maddie and
the cat heard Bye Bye Binary and said, "That's my cue."
Exactly. We still have our website and everything like that, and all of our older episodes are on there. We have talked about.
Where do you find them?
Here, let me see if I can find the link. It's bybybinary.com, or we have our LinkedIn page as well too.
Okay.
We have talked about kind of bringing it back. We also like moved a little bit, so we've been back and forth between Texas and Rhode Island, so it's been on pause. But outside of that, we like still kind of talk about if we're going to bring it back and everything. The episode, a lot of people gave us great feedback on the episodes because people think we're just funny. So we're hoping to bring it back, and maybe next year.
All right, so you can go to bybybinary.com or check them out on LinkedIn as well.
Yes.
And by them, I mean them, Reese and their partner. See, I almost said it. But I was like, wow.
You got it though.
I did. and their partner, Maddie. All right. So, what's next for you? Where can we go to support you, or what's an organization that we should be supporting besides Trevor Project?
Oh, okay. So Trevor Project is probably number one, GLAD number two, and then
Okay.
the National Center for Transgender is another one that I've been with work. We set up a giving donation, so we're donating some money to them for
Okay.
this month. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram. Facebook is like meh, here or there. Outside of that, what's next for me? I don't know. There's nothing. This year's been kind of different when it comes to speaking engagements for myself. There hasn't been as many because of everything that's happening with budget and everything like that in the tech
Yeah.
world. But outside of that, like you can always find me on LinkedIn. I'm always there. Instagram as well too. But yeah, there's nothing on the horizon, but more to come is how I'll
More
say
to
it
come.
as.
And I've got Reese's LinkedIn
Perfect.
there. And for anyone that is watching on LinkedIn or that catches the replay, feel free to drop them a note and or send a connection request if you're not going to be like a weird person and
Yes.
say weird things and do weird things. All right. Thank you guys so much for hanging with us. I appreciate it. Again, Reese, I appreciate you, and I appreciate you trusting me to give you space and let you say the things and talk the way that centers the community that you belong to, that I don't. But well, you know.
Depends on the day.
We said that. It was like, yeah, I was like, you know, I heard you. It is what it is. But yes, it is Pride Month. I am looking to do one more Pride show. I have 2 more weeks of June, so I'm looking to do one more Pride show, one more Black Music Month show. Guests forthcoming. But if you want to continue to listen to my non-phone voice today, I will be back with Wins, Woes, and Wine at 5 p.m. You have to check us out on LinkedIn for that. And again, I'll see you next week. Thanks again, Reese.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.